The fire hose of news from America can feel like a lot these days.
If you're trying to figure out what to make of it all, we got you.
I'm Katie Simpson.
And I'm Paul Hunter. We're correspondents here in Washington,
working just around the corner from where much of the action is taking place.
2 blocks from the White House.
And that's the name of our new podcast.
For top-notch analysis of U.S. politics from a Canadian perspective, find 2 blocks from the White House every Wednesday wherever you get your podcasts.
Including YouTube.
You know that Big Bargain detergent jug is 80% water, right? It doesn't clean as well.
80% water? I thought I was getting a better deal because it's so big.
If you want a better clean, Tide Pods are only 12% water. The rest is pure, concentrated cleaning ingredients.
Oh, let me make an announcement.
Attention shoppers, if you want a real deal, try Tide Pods.
Stop paying for watered-down detergents. Pay for clean. If it's gotta be clean, it's gotta be Tide Pods. Water content based on the leading bargain liquid detergent.
Frequency Podcast Network. Stories that matter, podcasts that resonate.
Have you ever heard Kurt Vonnegut's anecdote about buying an envelope? The American author of Slaughterhouse-Five once told a PBS interviewer that he liked to buy envelopes one at a time instead of ordering them in bulk online. And the reason he gave was that every time he goes out for an envelope, he has, quote, a hell of a good time. Vonnegut said, I meet a lot of people, see some great-looking babes, and a fire engine goes by, and I give them the thumbs up and ask a woman what kind of dog that is. And he alludes to the idea that computers and this ability we now have to just have anything we want delivered essentially rob us of everything great that happens when you go out to buy one envelope. Enter friction maxing, a term popularized in a recent article in The Cut. It refers to the act of going out of your way to avoid all the technological advances that make life more convenient, but rob us of valuable experiences and interactions. We're not talking about washing your laundry by hand here, just reading a longer email or article all the way through without asking AI to sum it up for you. Buying a pair of jeans at a brick-and-mortar store and chatting a bit with the sales clerk instead of ordering them online. I'm Catherine Jeté, and today on The Big Story, we're going to be exploring this concept of purposely making life just a little bit harder and that much more rewarding. My guest today is Isra Nazir, a psychotherapist, speaker, and author of the monthly wellness essay, The Well Guide, as well as the book Toxic Productivity. She's written about this very topic in her essay entitled, A Good Life is Inconvenient. We Need to Escape the Cult of Convenience. Isra, thank you so much for joining me today. I guess to start off with, I want to say there's so many companies making so much money right now, selling apps and products that are designed around convenience. And I just wondered if you had any thoughts on why we're seeking that out so much in this moment, why we're all just trying to streamline our lives and remove any awkwardness and possible hiccups.
Gosh, I think that there's so many reasons for something like this to happen. It's hard to pinpoint one reason why our society has shifted towards convenience. But I do think it coincides about 15-ish years ago with the advent of technology being more and more present in our lives. So these moments of friction just kind of slowly eroded away. And what happens when friction erodes is our ability to tolerate, right? Our ability to wait kind of goes away. So if you take a really good example of Blockbuster versus Netflix, in order to get a movie and watch a movie, you had to do a lot of things that were delaying your ability to watch the movie. You had to go to the Blockbuster, you had to search for the movie, hope that it was there, right? And then wait in line, purchase it, come back, put it on, and then watch it. And so there's so many moments where your gratification is delayed, right? But with streaming, all you have to do is press a button. You don't have to wait for the right circumstances. You don't need to wait in line for anything. You don't have to leave your house. And so the gratification is instant. And so the more we kind of took out delay of gratification, the more our lives became more and more convenient. And that actually rewires your brain. So young children, like young people who are probably like 14, 15 years old, have never experienced a world where they have to delay anything. Right. And so they don't actually even have that muscle. They don't have that neuroplasticity in their brain. Removing friction actually changes your brain, and your ability to tolerate discomfort and delay just kind of goes away. And so I think, and it's not like, oh my gosh, it's the damn phones with the young kids, but it is that advent of technology becoming more and more integrated into our daily lives instead of something that we just did at work.
I love the analogy of going to Blockbuster versus logging on to Netflix. It really perfectly encapsulates this because when you're not going to Blockbuster, you're missing out on so many different interactions, so many different moments that might have added something to your day. And ultimately, does it feel like the result is less special? If a movie is just they're ready to go and all you have to do is click a button, does it feel less like an occasion to sit down and watch the movie? It feels like we're robbed of a moment there.
I think if we're going to specifically just talk about the movie experience, we have definitely transformed it from a communal activity to a solo activity. It used to be a special activity. The whole family would get together, or your friends would come over, there'd be a sleepover, something like that. You know, we had the midnight releases of Harry Potter where everybody went to the theater. Like, they just don't have that anymore. Movies have now become solitary experiences, right? And it's because of Netflix and chill. And I'm not hating on Netflix. I don't want to like drag them because I watch it all the time, and they're not the only ones, but it's like a cultural term, right? That's not about Netflix anymore. And so it's really about like binge watching your shows on your own. I mean, we used to have to wait for episodes to come week after week, right? You could actually have this communal activity of speaking to your friends. Like, I remember I would watch Friends like on Thursday, and then I'd go to school and we'd all talk about it. And then we'd be like, oh my God, what's going to happen next week with Ross and Rachel? And then we'd wait till next Thursday to find out, right? And so it became this like communal activity. And in that like delay of gratification and in that friction, bonds were created, critical thinking happened, communication happened. There was an exchange of ideas. We just don't have that anymore. And it's similar to what you're saying in all of like the instances that were kind of removed of interactions when we're going about our day-to-day lives.
So beyond streaming services and movies, what are some of the other innovations or apps or gadgets that are designed to bring us convenience that maybe just are isolating us further?
I'm also a fan of all of these, but this is just what's happened. It's just like the direction our society has taken. Food delivery apps, grocery delivery apps, mobile banking. Again, things I love, but they come with a cost if you do them exclusively, right? Even things like Zoom meetings, right? All of these things, what they've done is they've removed the need to leave your house. And so, whereas I could go grocery shopping before and meet all of these people, talk to the person at Trader Joe's or wherever, maybe interact with somebody, talk about fruit at the fruit stand, and then come home. Now I just do it from my couch, right? I just go on Instacart. I'm like, boop, 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 and that's it. And while it's made us more efficient, you have to ask the question, efficient to what end? Like, where are we going with this efficiency? It's, for me, like I think about it, it's making me efficient to do more work. It's not like I'm doing my Instacart so I can engage in a hobby, right? So I mean, there's, plus and minus to everything, but I do think that there's some areas where we've kind of removed the daily friction, and what it's resulted in is a society that doesn't have the patience or the empathy for other people.
And are we even really getting what those things promise in terms of, we think, okay, great, Instacart, I'm going to get my groceries. It's going to be so much more efficient. But then the order comes, half of it's not what you wanted. And you have to make all these substitutions. You have to maybe change your menu and change your routine for the week based on what actually did come to the door. Whereas if you'd gone to the grocery store, it might have been, an hour out of your day and then it would have been over. Like, are we even getting what we sign up for with these things that are supposed to bring us all this convenience and efficiency?
Not always, and it's almost always more expensive, right? To go the same thing is more expensive because there's a charge. Obviously, because someone is putting in labor, it makes sense. I'm not saying that it shouldn't be, but there's also this cost to it, right? And it's also kind of created like two separate societal levels. Like there are some people who like I live in New York City, and there are some people who just like never go grocery shopping. Like they never go grocery shopping. They don't know what it's like anymore. And then you've got this complete subset of society who are the delivery drivers, who are the shoppers, who are the task rabbit staff, like they're the people who wait in line for you so you can get into the sample sale. Even that, I don't know if you know this, but you can hire people to wait in line for you at sample sales, at restaurants, at drops, like, if a sneaker is being dropped or Apple is coming out with something new. So you don't have to wait in line. And then they'll just ping you when they're like four people down and you'll come from close by. So we just don't have that anticipation anymore. I think that's what I'm feeling like a huge lack of in my life. And I'm not anticipating anything. I'm not waiting for anything. Like there's like a loss of sense of excitement about things. And like from a neurological perspective, people say it's dopamine and all that stuff, but I think it's our habits as well.
I think you're right about that. The thing that you waited in line for 8 hours is obviously going to have more value to you than the thing that you paid someone else to wait in line for, right? That item, whatever it is, or the story is going to come with the people you met in line and the things you saw happen on the street while you were waiting and the actual experience of going into the store. Those are all baked into whatever it is that you end up with at the end. If you skipped all those things, does that same thing have any value?
It certainly doesn't have the story and the lore with it, right? And I don't want to be like, wow, the good old days. But you remember like Boxing Day 10 years ago, people would wait in line outside the Best Buy, like at nighttime, overnight sometimes. And like, just there's so many fun stories from that. Like you met people got into arguments, it was cold, and it just made it more interesting. But of course, the advent of ease has been very beneficial for our senior community, for people who have disabilities or different abilities, for people who truly don't have the capacity to go out and shop. Like if you're like a busy single mom or a single parent with three children and a job, like it has made it easier for a lot of people. It's just we have an over reliance to it.
The fire hose of news from America can feel like a lot these days.
If you're trying to figure out what to make of it all, we got you.
I'm Katie Simpson.
And I'm Paul Hunter. We're correspondents here in Washington,
working just around the corner from where much of the action is taking place.
2 blocks from the White House.
And that's the name of our new podcast.
For top-notch analysis of U.S. politics from a Canadian perspective, find 2 blocks from the White House every Wednesday wherever you get your podcasts,
including YouTube.
We talk a lot about loneliness in society. We're in a moment where we talk about it as an epidemic, for men, also for seniors, and stay-at-home moms are suffering with this problem too. And you can't help but wonder if all these convenience apps and all these ways we have to make things easy for ourselves, if that only contributes to this feeling of loneliness and isolation.
It does, and it does from 2 points, Jack, 2 perspectives. One from the actual physical space perspective, right? You're meeting less people, you're going out less, and so that creates a sense of loneliness. But it also creates it from an emotional and existential level, because the more convenient your life becomes, the less you are able to tolerate the discomfort that comes in relationships. So you're not able to actually show up for people. You're not able to have difficult conversations. You're not able to confront people in a healthy way. It's very easy to just be like, well, I don't really need anyone. in a moment of like emotional turmoil. It's just like our muscle to have that is eroding, and so it does from that layer also create loneliness, right? I think like a couple of years ago, there was this whole social trend around protecting your peace, and that it's okay to flake on your friends if you're not feeling it. But like inherent in healthy relationships is a level of inconvenience. And if you've committed to a friend and now you don't feel like going, you have to make yourself inconvenienced to show up to your friend who is, planning this dinner party. But this like social permission that came with the advent of like having an easy life, having ease and having no friction, it has actually transformed our relationships. Not only are we having a loneliness crisis, we're also having a friendship crisis, right? There's books being written on friendship. The friendship crisis feeds right into the male loneliness epidemic, but women are like approximately similarly like showing up in loneliness rates in studies. Just it manifests differently and it's a different social problem, but it is causing a lot of disruption.
So sometimes it's hard to face, especially for people who maybe are a little more socially withdrawn. This idea that I'm going to go to the store and on the way, I might run into a neighbor that I have to chit chat with. I might have to make small talk with the cashier. I might face any number of interactions, and some of them might be awkward. But ultimately, you're doing yourself a disservice by depriving yourself of all those moments.
Yeah, and I think there's a distinction between accepting the things you struggle with and enabling the things you struggle with. And as therapist, when I was practicing, that's a really important distinction that I would have to help people recognize. It's okay to accept that, okay, you know what? I'm a little introverted or I'm withdrawn or whatever. It's hard for me to talk to people, but that doesn't mean that we should enable these type of behaviors because they're ultimately more harmful to us in the long term, right? And so that's also this like we are in this place where a lot of people have confused this, like, oh, look, I have this limitation, therefore I can't do this. But the whole point of growth and being alive is to overcome limitations in a healthy way. And so for somebody who's listening who might be like, I'm just a withdrawn person, this is not going to apply to me, I would say that it's important to prepare for those things and learn how to flex that muscle because you never know when you'll be in a situation where you'll need it and you won't be able to get out. So, practicing some talking points from before, practicing an exit line is really, really helpful because it helps people give like a time box to an interaction. So, saying something like, oh, it was nice running into you. I'm just on my way to finish an errand. I'll catch up with you later. Having these kind of statements really at your ready and saying it in a way that feels natural to the way you speak is really helpful. Mapping out a route, looking at kind of what's on the way there, those type of things will help you overcome these issues without isolating yourself.
And in addition to the benefits for your brain of kind of flexing those limits that maybe you've imposed on yourself, there's real tangible benefits to belonging to a community and being part of a community. And how are you supposed to be part of a community if you never talk to anyone and you never have those interactions, even if sometimes they are awkward?
Yeah. And awkwardness is a part of life, and different people react to it differently based on like their own, upbringing, and whether they have some diagnosis for anxiety or rejection sensitivity. There's like different layers to it. But everyone can learn one way or two ways to overcome that, right? Because everything we do is learned behavior, everything. And so we can unlearn it and we can learn new ways of living. That's the coolest thing about our brain is that it's plastic. You can change it through your behaviors. And being part of a community has enormous benefits to your health, your physical health. It lowers stress. It helps you be optimistic and hopeful. It has emotional benefits. It has spiritual benefits, right? It has a very tangible benefit. There's a snowstorm. Your car is stuck halfway coming out of the driveway. If you don't know your neighbors, you're going to have a hard time getting help from people, right? There's a real benefit to that as well, tangibly. And so there's this like famous thing floating around the internet right now, which says like, everybody wants a village, but nobody wants to be a villager. And so there is a give and take in community.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree with that. So what tangible advice can we give to people to apply to their day if they say, okay, this is the year I'm going to open myself up to more friction in my life. This is the year I'm going to be uncomfortable sometimes for my own good. We mentioned, having an exit line if you're going into an interaction, being able to say, okay, I can't really chat long. I'm on my way to something. What are some other first steps people can take to achieving this goal?
I think that you can definitely make sure that you make commitments to yourself. So I'm going to reach out to 2 friends a week, right? That's something it's tangible, it's measurable. You can say Tuesday and Thursday, right? You can say, every 2 weeks, I'm actually going to go to the grocery store. So once a week I'll order, that's fine because life is busy. But the other week, I'm going to plan my week so that I actually go and get things in the store itself. Things like that, like making these type of commitments to yourself can be really beneficial. And learning something new can actually help you build that muscle of tolerating uncertainty and discomfort and friction. So, if you're feeling very motivated right now at the beginning of the year, see if you can join, if you have the capacity. Obviously it's not for everyone, but can you join a class? Can you join a hobby? Can you join a group, like a running group or a rowing group or whatever that's in the neighborhood? So that's something you could do. I did that last year and it did really help me. I took an improv class, 10 weeks, and it just helped me like become comfortable with being uncomfortable, which is essentially the skill we're looking to build. And see if you can also commit to like a communal activity at a regular cadence. So a monthly dinner, a bi-monthly dinner, right? That 4 friends get together and you rotate going to each other's homes, maybe a potluck, something like that that will require you to show up for community while also inconveniencing yourself. And the final thing I'll say is if you are somebody who has a lot of trouble with this concept, before you do any of it, maybe take 1 or 2 weeks to reflect on why this is so important to you. What is it that you're searching? What are you looking for? What have you given up over the past 3 years in pursuit of convenience? And really try to see how it impacts your specific life so that will motivate you to make some changes, hopefully.
And, we don't want anyone beating themselves up over Uber Eatsing or door dashing anything. I mean, our lives are complicated. They're busy. But I really appreciate this point of view. I really do feel like we're robbing ourselves of potentially some really valuable experiences by always just focusing on convenience and making everything streamlined and easy.
Yeah, I'll quickly say one last point before we end, and that is don't aim for a binary existence. Don't aim for like a zero sum, like I'm never going to Uber Eats, I'm not going to use Amazon, I'm not going to Instacart anything. And also don't go the other way. I'm only going to go grocery shopping in person. I'm only going to buy, right? It's very difficult because our world is not designed for that anymore. Like we are not living in the 80s. It's not possible for us to do that anymore. And so just try to find a middle ground. And that's why I think like committing to twice a week or once a month and giving yourself like a reasonable goal to meet is the way to go.
Isra, thank you so much. This is like great food for thought, useful advice. I really, really appreciate this conversation.
Thanks for having me.
And that was The Big Story. We'd love to hear your thoughts on this conversation. Send us an email at hello@thebigstorypodcast.ca. Reach us on Instagram at FrequencyPods or on Blue Sky at The Big Story. If you know someone that might enjoy this episode, be sure to send it to them. You can listen to The Big Story every day on the Seeker app or wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Catherine Jeté. Thanks for listening.
The fire hose of news from America can feel like a lot these days.
If you're trying to figure out what to make of it all, we got you.
I'm Katie Simpson.
And I'm Paul Hunter. We're correspondents here in Washington,
working just around the corner from where much of the action is taking place.
2 blocks from the White House.
And that's the name of our new podcast.
For top-notch analysis of U.S. politics from a Canadian perspective, Find Two Blocks from the White House every Wednesday wherever you get your podcasts.
including YouTube.